You won't believe what I found sitting on the side of the road. This antique china cabinet was completely free, but today I'll be showing you how to turn this curbside castaway into a stunning modern statement piece using just stain, paint, peel and stick wallpaper, and a little bit of creativity. Let's see if we can turn someone else's trash into total treasure. Here is a full step-by-step tutorial of how you can transform furniture all on your own. Start by removing the drawers and all of the hardware. Just look at this gorgeous hardware. You just can't find stuff like this anymore. I'm going to clean it up using Barkeeper's Friend and spray paint it pure gold. At this point, I'm also removing the wheel casters. They pop out fairly easy. Next, I do repairs. I have two minor ones, so I have to re-glue the base brace, pretty minor, and I also have to reattach this loose veneer on the drawer. So I'm going to use a syringe and I'm going to put some wood glue in it. And the reason I'm using the syringe with this tiny little needle is to really get that glue all the way in there so that this veneer will adhere very, very well and not come apart again. I'm using a flat piece of wood and a clamp just to keep it all together so it dries completely flat. I wait for all the glue to dry. There was some overspray on the glass, so I had to remove it. This I just used a razor blade and I scraped it off. It was actually super easy, so never fear if you ever get overspray on your mirror or your glass, it's pretty simple to remove. Now that the glue is all dry, I get to work on scuff sanding this entire piece. So I use my orbital sander with 120 grit sandpaper, and I just give the piece a light sanding all over, and I do all the edges and little insert pieces by hand. Then I get to work on the base. I'm using a paint and varnish stripper. I pull out some plastic vapor barrier just to catch the debris from the stripper, and I use a disposable synthetic brush from the dollar store to apply a very generous layer of the stripping agent. So I let it sit for about 20 minutes as per the instructions on the back of the container, and then I use a steel wire brush to scrape the finish off. It's actually pretty easy. It's definitely just a job. I then wipe on mineral spirits just with a rag to clean off the excess stripper. Once this dries, you'll see how light the wood really is. So you'll see that at the end because I'm going to finish that at the end. Now I tape off the base so that it won't get any overspray on it, and I also tape the inside seams around the door just so there won't be any overspray that gets into the inside of the cabinet. I then mask off the glass, and the easiest and most effective way I found to do this to glass and to mirrors, short of removing it completely from the piece, is to just use playing cards. So now I'm ready to paint, and I'm going to start with my primer. I am using a bonding primer which will ensure the best adhesion to the wood. This is Sticks Primer, which you can purchase at Benjamin Moore. I put it in my Wagner 3500 spray gun, which is my bigger sprayer that I have, and it works well for such a thick paint like primer. I do add a slight bit of water so it doesn't come out clumpy, and for the siding of the drawer, I use a mini 10mm roller. It's just easier to spray the piece with the drawer in and then to touch up these drawer lips afterward. And just a side note, I also taped off the handle holes so that none of my overspray got inside the drawer either. After this, I lightly sand down the entire piece by hand with 220 grit sandpaper, and this is how I ultimately achieve that buttery smooth finish. I am using this rich blue color, which is called Cambridge by Fusion Mineral Paint. I adore this paint. I do thin it down just slightly, and quite often I don't hear or see people spraying it, but I find if you give it a little bit of a thin down, put it in my Wagner 2500 gun. It sprays beautifully. I just love this paint. It's really great to work with and it has the best coverage. I'm going to be applying a second coat, but I ensure that once it's all dry, I sand it all down by hand with 320 grit sandpaper between those coats. So I take off all that tape and I reveal the perfect paint job. I'm really happy with it. I then work on lining the drawers and the backdrop of the cabinet using peel and stick wallpaper. I measure it leaving a 1/4 inch overhang and I cut it with my X-Acto knife and my metal square. I use my metal putty knife to perfectly trim the excess edges with that X-Acto knife as well. I oftentimes see people lining drawers and they end up leaving gaps kind of between the base of the drawer and the edge. And this has been the tried and true method to ensure that doesn't happen. So I've sprayed all my hardware with the color Pure Gold. I also did the cabinet door handle Pure Gold and sprayed that, and the hinges as well. And that I just sprayed onto a piece of cardboard and used a small brush and painted it on. So now I'm just reattaching everything. Last but not least, I'm using gel stain on the base. This is Konya by Varathane. I apply it with a foam brush and I just cover the surface with it. So I let this sit on the surface for about 5 minutes and then I use a clean rag just to wipe off the excess, and that's it. And here is the final finish. What do you think? Be sure to follow my channel as I do a ton of DIY furniture tutorials, full length like this one, short ones. I also do tips and tricks and just in general for some design inspiration. If you have any questions, leave a comment below and I'd be happy to answer them.